It is a little slow at times. Are we on the tape yet?
Are we recording? Okay. Very good. Call the March 16th meeting of the Area Plan Commission to order. Mr. Burns, would you call the roll, please?
Larry Leverins.
Here.
Jackson Bogan. Carla Snodgrass. Gary Schroeder.
Here.
Jerry Reynolds. Greg Jones.
Here.
Bob Metzger. Diana Looper.
Present.
Vicki Pearl.
Present.
Michelle Dennis.
Present.
Tom Murtaugh. Perry Brown.
Present.
Tracy Brown.
Present.
Jason Domkowski. Lisa Dullum. Kathy Parker.
Here.
Jody Hamilton. Quorum present.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I just want to say from a personal standpoint, thank you to Jackson and Gary for filling in while I was gone. Good to be back in town, especially when it's 70 degrees. So glad to be back. Briefing session.
Thank you. Rezoning case Z-2847, Tippecanoe Acquisitions LLC, West Heights Condominiums, a rezoning from R1 to PDRS, must be continued to the April 20th APC public hearing because notices were not mailed out in time to meet the requirements of the bylaws. The other cases are set to go forward tonight.
Okay. Approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the February 16th, 2022 meeting as submitted.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business.
I move to hear and approve Resolution 2022-01.
I second.
Any, on this resolution, David, I'm sorry. I got to get in gear here.
Thank you. David Hiddle with the Area Plan Commission. You have two resolutions in front of you. They're both very similar. The first one, as noted, is 2022-01. This is before the Plan Commission because it's required by state code to review any new economic development area plan or any amendment to an existing economic development area plan for conformance to the jurisdiction's comprehensive plan. Here you have an existing economic development area plan, the consolidated Creasy-Central TIF economic development area, which has been in place for several years, and the request from Lafayette is to add a note to it. There's essentially 54 points right now. This would add a 55th, which reads, the design, development, and construction of a public works campus to serve as the public works headquarters for the City of Lafayette, Park Central Maintenance, Traffic Improvement Department, Fleet Maintenance, Street and Sanitation Departments, and other related uses. So that point that I just read would be allowed to be funded by this plan if it is ultimately approved by the Area Plan Commission. This was heard and approved by the Lafayette Redevelopment Commission on February 24th. And the Public Works Campus in question would be it's on page 15 of your staff report. They don't have page numbers, but on McCarty Lane between Sagamore Parkway and Creasy Lane. It's an unimproved lot. It's about 16 acres and zoned I3. I3 is the heavy industrial classification. And the comprehensive plan does recommend industrial use for this property. So what is proposed here as an amendment to an existing economic development area plan is in conformity in staff's eyes with the comprehensive plan. I hope that made enough sense. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay.
I believe Lafayette has somebody here to speak to it if you have questions about specifics.
Okay. Let's have any questions from the board for David first. Hearing none. anyone in the audience like to speak on this, for this, against this?
Good evening, Dennis Carson, Economic Development Director of the City of Lafayette. I really don't have anything to add, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Okay,
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments? Last chance. You have a yellow ballot for Resolution 2020-01.
2022-01.
2022.
We have 10 ballots cast, all in favor.
Thank you. That motion passed. Resolution 2022-02.
I move to hear and approve Resolution 2022-02.
I second.
David.
Thank you. This is really the exact same request as the previous resolution, only it would add the ability to fund that Public Works project, Public Works Campus project, to the existing McCarty Economic Development Plan. So it's the exact same test. Again, it's on property zoned I-3, already suitably zoned and recommended by the Comprehensive Plan for Industrial. So in our eyes, it does meet the comprehensive plan, and we recommend approval.
Okay. Any comments from anyone in the audience? Anything? Any questions from the commission? Very good. You have a yellow ballot for Resolution 2022-02.
There are 10 ballots cast, and all of them are in favor of the resolution.
Thank you, David. That motion passed. We're ready for our public hearing, and before that, I need to read our procedures. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the Commission would like you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we are only concerned as to whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make comments or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petitions will be given the opportunity to do so. When we are hearing a request for a change in zoning, we are trying to determine if the new zone being requested and the uses allowed in that zone are appropriate to that property and supported by the comprehensive plan. With each case being heard, our staff will present its report. Then the person requesting the rezone will be given an opportunity to speak. Following that, those of you wishing to speak in favor of the rezone will be recognized, and then those of you wishing to oppose it will have a turn. This will be your only time to speak. The person requesting the action will be allowed a rebuttal. Plan Commission members will then ask questions and finally vote. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes. We ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. We are a 17-member body, and the majority of 17 is 9. Regardless of how many commissioners are actually present, at least 9 votes in favor or 9 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 9 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, that case must be heard again the next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. Our vote on a request to rezone serves as a recommendation to the appropriate city council, town council, or county commissioners, who must ultimately decide on changes in zoning. When addressing the commission, please state your name and address for the record. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room before using your phone. All exhibits presented to the commission become the property of the commission.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendations on the application to be heard this evening, and responses from the checkpoint agencies.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'm ready to hear the continuance.
I move to continue Z 2847, Tippecanoe Acquisitions LLC, West Heights Condominiums, R1 to PDRS, to the April 20th, 2022 APC public hearing because notices were not mailed out in time to meet the requirements of the bylaws.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I move to hear and vote on UZO Amendment Number 103.
I second.
Ryan?
Thank you. Is there any slide on this? Okay, that's good enough. All right, so a little history on this tweak to the ordinance. Presently, the list of prohibited home occupations includes physicians, dentists, optometrists, chiropractors, et cetera. And staff has, over time, fielded many questions from folks involved in these businesses that are interested in operating out of their home obviously in a much more limited fashion than if it was in a medical office building. And so the staff investigated this. We discussed it last summer at the administrative officers' meetings. And we sort of coalesced around the idea of state licensure, and that as long as a state licensed individual was operating in a very limited capacity per home occupation, it would be no different than, a piano teacher instructing someone, or the beauty shop one chair facility type situation. So we began this discussion kind of late last year at Ordinance Committee, and ultimately came up with the list of state licensed medical related professions. We include there in our staff report. And this proposal is to essentially include that list in the home occupation section of the ordinance, so that these licensed medical professionals would be allowed to operate out of their homes with no more than one treatment room. So essentially they can only see one patient at a time in there. And we feel that that is a reasonable sort of expansion of home occupations that is likely not going to have any detrimental impacts to any neighborhoods. So Ordinance Committee did recommend this to the APC at its March meeting, and staff is behind this. We are recommending approval. Happy to answer any questions. We have 10 votes in favor of the amendment. That amendment will then be distributed to our member localities for a final vote.
Subdivisions.
I move to hear and vote on S 5055, Pretty Prairie minor subdivision, minor sketch.
I second.
So the petitioner is seeking primary approval of a 4-lot minor subdivision on 24 acres located on the south side of Prairie Road between Tyler and Grant Road. You can see here the overall outline of the property. A majority of it is in the floodplain. Let me get a little closer. We can see here these will be the building sites that have been certified out. There's enough area to build a home and septics outside of the floodplain. All the conditions in this request are standard.
Does the petitioner or petitioner's representative like to make a presentation?
Good evening. I'm Pat Cunningham with Vester and Associates, Incorporated, a land surveying firm here in Lafayette, Indiana. And I'm representing R. Greg Suter on this subdivision. And as far as the staff comments and the staff recommendations, we agree with all of them. And we are here to ask for your approval of the subdivision. And I would be glad to answer any questions that you might have on that subdivision.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Does any member of the audience wish to comment on this petition?
We know who you are.
My name is David Linder, and on the map, my daughter and I own the property right downriver from that. Judy Lang, so right on the border, Judy Lang, okay? Are you people aware of the erosion on that river bank?
Can I get your address? Also.
6731 Pretty Prairie Road.
Okay, for sure.
Sorry about
Okay.
that.
But the river has got an enormous erosion right there. In fact, when you look at the map, it won't take too long, she'll have an island on her property because of the erosion on that bank. Now, is there a program that the DNR or somebody will correct that erosion, or are they going to do something with it, or?
Am I correct that Drainage Board, this will go to Drainage Board and they will cover that, Ryan or Larry?
Are you referring to the bank along the river or the one that's closer to the home sites?
The bank that's on the river.
The bank on the river.
Uh,
The river bank itself right there, there's an island right off of that bank, and the island grows and the bank is eroded off. It's consistently, I own the property since in the 70s, and it's amazing the erosion that's upriver from you.
Because the work that, the items that Suter had done to the property with the farming has eroded the bank even further.
Even further.
And I'm just worried that it's going to keep eroding, and then I'm going to lose half my property because now the river is going through it.
Where exactly are you speaking?
I'm the house sitting right to the east. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right, yeah.
I'm right there,
Right
that
north.
house.
Oh, right in the corner there?
Yes.
Okay.
And when it floods, I mean, I understand that they're saying there's enough room for the 4 subdivisions to be up at the top for them to build. But if they do anything to the land, this bank right here is all eroding, and it is curving out through half our field to where within the next 10 years, I'm going to have an island.
I don't believe the Drainage Board will address the Tippy River. I mean, they don't,
They don't?
they would not control
Okay.
drainage along the Tippy and bank stabilization.
How, did you say that and I'm just asking for clarification, did you say that the sewer systems had to be out of the floodplain?
Well,
The
yeah,
septic
that-
systems, I'm sorry.
So if you can see, there's a dark line there that represents the floodplain boundary. It's closer to the grass
You answer.
area.
Okay.
It's flooded clear up to our house. Right where I have the mouse at now is where it has flooded to. I believe it was in 2014 or 2015, I can't remember which. My major, I mean, I'm all for the houses being built. It's just going to raise my property value on mine. But my thing of it is it's also going to ruin my value on, I'm going to lose half my land and then I'm also concerned with the people that build those houses, whether or not we weren't allowed to take anything out of the floodplain. We couldn't move any dirt. I just want to see that is also done to where they're not able to move any dirt, because once they start moving any type of dirt, it's going to start eroding worse.
So they can bring in fill in the area outside of the floodplain, but the area that's in the floodplain is supposed to be left alone. They could not bring in fill.
Who's going to monitor that they do that?
When they would get a permit, they would monitor that.
I guess that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address? Pat, would you like to respond to that, please?
Yes, I certainly understand that there are erosion problems along the Wabash River.
It's not the Wabash.
And, well, Tippecanoe, I'm sorry. I'm just a surveyor. I ought to know where I'm at, but anyway, yes, there are erosion problems, but the homes will not be built in the floodplain, and structures will not be allowed in the floodplain. And then also, each lot will be reviewed by the county surveyor and/or the drainage board at the time that a building permit is being issued. So there will be government officials involved when the permits are issued.
Okay.
So that's what I have.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay, you have a white ballot and there are conditions. No bonding. No bonding.
We have 10 ballots in favor of the petition.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Mr. Schreiber. Gotcha. I move to hear and vote on S 5060, the Oasis Major Preliminary.
Can I have a second? Thank you.
We'll be hearing a case on the petitioners requesting a primary approval of a multifamily subdivision, one lot with 84 units on Genoa Drive, just off of Paramount and Sagamore Parkway, you can see here. It's surrounded by residential and a high-density residential area. Petitioner is proposing a first-floor parking lot with an L-shaped building over top of part of that. They're proposing 84 units. There's no variances required. Their access point is here off of Genoa, and the conditions on these are standard conditions for a subdivision.
Thank you, Larry. Does the petitioner or petitioner's representative like to make a presentation? No one? Does any member of the audience wish to comment on this petition? Does any member of the commission have a question on this petition? Okay, you have a white ballot on that. No bonding.
Eric?
There's a conversation among staff that there might be a procedural issue if the petitioner is not present.
Yeah, the bylaws do say that if the petitioner does not appear, that it can be dismissed.
So
I don't believe
are
it's a
they-
shall.
Okay, they're not compelled to?
Do you
Thank
recall
you.
the
Yeah.
magic one word of shall?
Yes, I know. That has weight. We'll give you a chance to
Yeah.
look it up.
So is there anyone here from, not prepared to speak, but is there anyone here from the Oasis? Yes, please come forward, if you would.
There you go.
There we go.
Well done.
I didn't know I had to speak. I'm Nick Giacomo with Tiber Design. We're the land surveyors for this. So we request approval for the subdivision.
Great.
Well, that
Thank
does
you.
it?
I'm still looking. I'll let you know.
We're good.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
I want to know now.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
yeah,
got
it's a
that.
good question.
Bonding? Required? No? Okay. Okay.
I know that song.
It is.
We have 10 votes in favor of the petition.
Thank you, Ryan.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2846 Benito Munoz, AA to A.
I second.
And the bylaws do provide shall be dismissed.
Okay.
Good to know for the future.
Thank you.
So here we're hearing Benito Munoz, petitioners requesting rezone of 25 acres from A to A, from select agriculture to agriculture. We can see the site here is on 400 East and 1300 South. This is the site, this is the home site, this is the larger old Foxton Farm horse riding stable. There are some residents to the north and then some others spread out in the area. Petitioner is requesting this rezone to legitimize an existing rodeo/concert venue. This property was rezoned in the 80s to select agriculture. That made the Foxton Farms not legally non-conforming. To continue to operate and be legal for that previous use, this site would need to be rezoned to A. Petitioner also is starting the process to bring their non-conforming use into compliance. The first step of that two-step process would be this rezone, and then that would be followed up by a special exception. Staff's recommendation of approval is based strictly on the zoning of this request from AA to A, based on the fact that farming has not happened on these 24 acres in over 50 to 60 years, and based on the fact that if this were to continue just as the horse barn riding stables, they would need that zoning change to bring it into compliance with today's standards.
Thank you, Larry. Petitioner, make a presentation, please.
My name's Gay Martin. I'm the accountant for Benito Munoz. He's wanting to provide entertainment to the area, something a little bit different. And he bought the land thinking that that was something that he'd be able to do with it. Oh, they don't need to hear me. No, they don't. He bought the land in order to bring to the community a different type of entertainment, with rodeos, small concerts and things like that, not knowing that it all had to be changed. So that's why he's petitioning it now.
Okay, thank you. So anyone in the audience would like to speak in favor of this petition?
We do have letters as well when you're ready for them.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tanner Lewis. I live at 3600 East County Line Road South, so it'll be 1 mile south of this property. We've gone to these parties before. They're a lot of fun. They're safe. There's a lot of stuff to do for kids. We take both of our kids there. Benito has welcomed us warmly. We've got neighbors that go with us as well, and I think that for a minority-owned property like this, that it's really something that we should look into. I think he does a great job of putting on a party. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Anyone would like to speak opposed to this? Sir.
Evening. My name is Jim Lutterlow. I had Lutterlow's Garden Shops and Nursery in Lafayette for about 35 years. I'm now retired. I live almost across the street from this property. If you can put the other screen up, I'll show you where my house is at.
Where is your address, sir? What is your address, please?
12444 South 400 East. I live on that 5 acres right there. I don't know all the ins and outs of all this zoning and stuff by the Area Plan Commission, but I'm astounded that they would consider rezoning this for the purposes that these people intend to use it for. I don't know how many of you people on this board are old enough to remember Woodstock. Some of you are, some of you aren't, but I certainly remember Woodstock. And these people want to have a Woodstock out there. And matter of fact, they've already held a couple of them illegally, without the proper zoning, and the noise and the traffic has been unbelievable. Traffic was backed up from their property all the way to Highway 28. Now, if the area plan thinks that traffic, those roads out there can handle that kind of traffic, they're crazy. These roads down here are gravel. These are gravel roads down here, and it's paved only from here up to Highway 28. So not only did we have cars backed up, blocking people's driveways, they weren't set up to handle the parking in their property for the cars that showed up. And then when they left, when the concert was over, when their music was over, people roared down the road heading for 28, flying through there at high speeds. And there's a lot of children live in those areas out there in the homes across the road from me. This is not the place to have a Woodstock, believe me. And I don't know what the next steps are, but this should not be approved. The parties that these guys are talking about, there are reports that there were drugs and booze involved. I don't have any proof of that, but I believe the people that told me that it was. When the people left the concert, so-called concert, we ended up with trash in our front yards. The noise was heard over a mile away. They had their music so loud. People on the other side of 28, almost a half mile on the other side of 28, could hear the music. I've been retired about 15 years, and me and all my neighbors moved out there for the peace and quiet and a nice place to live. And we don't want a bunch of noise out there on every weekend that runs until midnight or 1 o'clock at night. It's just not the appropriate place for this kind of a goings on. I would also like to ask the board why I was not given any of the legal notices of this hearing, since my property is practically across the street from it. I received no notices whatsoever of these hearings. Wouldn't have known about them if I hadn't noticed in the Journal and Courier. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name is Rob Beck, and I live at 12431 South 400 East, Romney 47981. If you look at the screen, this is my 2-acre lot right here on the very corner. My wife and 2 young boys moved to this area 3 years ago and have enjoyed a very nice, quiet lifestyle. Had no idea that Foxton Farms was not zoned properly. Honestly, I don't really care, because again, like my neighbor said, I don't know anything about this zoning stuff. What I do know is that last year in the summer, Mr. Munoz purchased the property, and we were told that a rodeo was going in down there, and we thought, well, that's really cool, that's great. My young boys will probably enjoy that. We would enjoy that. And we were legitimately excited about it until one evening, out of the blue, the loudest noise I could anticipate coming from that property occurred. So loud that way down here, right, this is about a half a mile from, they hold their concerts right there is where I usually see a stage set up. So I'm about a half mile away, and that noise shakes the walls of my property when the subwoofers hit. That's extremely loud. I'm an occupational hearing conservationist. I'm an occupational health nurse. I deal with noise exposure on a daily basis. The level of noise being generated out of that property is unsafe to the concert goers. It's not necessarily unsafe to me and my neighbors that far away, but myself and many of my neighbors are avid hunters. We love the wildlife in the area. That's one of the reasons that we moved out to this area. And I'm concerned about what this kind of recurring events are going to do in that regard to the surrounding wildlife. I see and I understand that this is not necessarily the proper forum to raise some of these concerns, but I see that the next steps here for the end goal of Mr. Munoz to hold concerts would be a special exception that the board allows the board to apply conditions to the approval of some certain criteria, one being noise generation, which I've already spoken on, the other being traffic generated. We have had drag racing after these concerts. I have had ammunition fired from moving vehicles outside of my house. Yes, this is true. In the middle of the night, woke us up following one of these events about 45 minutes after it occurred, or 45 minutes after the concert ended. Yes, we heard drag racing. Yes, shots were fired. We did call the non-emergency police dispatch, as we had numerous times. I'm told that there's no record of that occurring, which I'm very disheartened to hear. I've addressed that with one of the commissioners. Regardless, I have tremendous concerns, as do my neighbors, about our lifestyle. We moved out there for the peace and quiet. It's been severely disrupted. And I do wish Mr. Munoz much success in his horse farm. I really do wish him a lot of success, but the amount of noise being generated is extremely, extremely excessive. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments against?
Good evening. My name is Jill Morris. Can you hear me? Okay. I live at 12441 South 450 East. And I believe this is our property here, right here. Our neighbor here was not able to make it tonight because she was working, but she would be here if she could. She wrote a letter, as well as this property owner here. First of all, I'd like to say that none of us have any issues with the horse boarding and the way that it was before. I think that's great. My son's even been over there riding horses before. But that's going to stop because I know there's some illegal activities going on over there now. And I can't prove it, but as Mr. Beck has said, that it is going on. So my location is right here. There's no trees, nothing between these concerts and my home. We can't see the concerts from my home because this big building here, their horse farm. But somewhere in this area here, there's a big pole, and they put a big speaker on it. And it was pointed directly to the north, which would be those woods where my neighbors are. And so it is very loud at our home, too. The other thing that I was surprised to see someone else here for this, because I know a couple people who have gone over there to check it out, and they were not admitted. They were not allowed to get in for whatever reason. I don't know. So I would just like to say, as I said, I'm all for the horse farm and the horse boarding. I think that's great. But these rodeos have caused, first of all, I don't know if anyone's mentioned that they're on Sunday nights, most of them. There have been a couple on the weekends, but on Sunday nights, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. And these are not over until 10:30 on Sunday night, and that's when the street racing begins. And as soon as the street racing begins is when the shooting begins. Now, as I mentioned, there's no trees from here to here. This is flat ground, flat crops. So people are racing up and down this street and shooting. I don't know if they're shooting this direction, but it is a straight line to my home. And it's scary. And I have called and complained. Now, when they race, they don't just race down this road. I don't know what kind of cars they are, but they buzz. They're very, very loud. They race. I can even hear them half a mile away on these other roads. I don't know why they're so loud that I can hear them. But they don't really go up and down my road so much, but they go up here to 1200 and over. But my road is pretty much dirt. So I don't think they can really race too much on that dirt. But I just wanted to say I'm all for the horse boarding, and I think that's great. But I don't see how, if it's not a club anymore, if there's not a riding club, then I believe that they're still within the zoning rules. I don't know, is that correct? Since it's just horse boarding, and it said that boarding and/or training of horses is permitted in all rural zones. So I don't really see the need to have it changed. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak against?
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. Am I allowed to speak again briefly?
No.
That's okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else speaking against? Petitioner, would you like to rebut, please? No?
The letters, Larry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Letters, yes. I forgot the letters.
We have 5 letters against and a petition against with 10 signatures and 3 copies of zoning complaint forms on the property. The first letter is written from Patrick Christopher at 4124 Chase.
Can you get closer? I think people are having a hard time hearing you, Larry.
The first letter is from Patrick Christopher at 4124 Chase Lane, which I believe is the road north of the site. I am against any rezoning for the property at 12711 South 400 East. I live a half mile north of the property. The music is obnoxiously loud inside our home. The bass is physically felt every time they have a concert. If we are outside, we need to speak up in our own yard, usually from 12 noon to 10 or 11 at night. We have had several incidents of prolonged gunfire at night after concerts in our addition as well as on 400 East. We have called the sheriff regarding our concerns as well. We have had trespassers in our addition drinking beer after concerts, then leaving their empty cans around. There have been multiple events of cars drag racing along 400 East after concerts. I feel these are valid concerns regarding the continued operation of Rancho Alegre. That poses a serious safety concern as well as a quality of life concern for all who live within a mile of this property. This area was zoned for agricultural and has been used that purpose in the past when it was a horse farm and a show ring. when there was a horse show in the past, there would be none of the transgressions like the new owners have brought to the area. The previous owners were good neighbors to all around them. They stayed within their zoning restrictions. The current owners have no intention from beginning to the mindful of their zoning limits or their relationships with folks who live in the area. They did what they wanted because they were making money. Earlier in the summer, I relayed my concerns to the county commissioner and was informed that they would be shut down by the county because of their zoning restrictions. The following week, they had another concert, so they obviously don't really care about following law or operating within the zoning requirements. It's my understanding the state authorities would not give them a liquor permit till their zoning is appropriate, and there hasn't been a concert for the last month or so. My hope is that the BZA upholds the current zoning to protect the property owners adversely effects by this event center. If they are granted this request, then we feel nothing will stop them from having paid concerts regardless of if they have to apply for a special exception. Given their disregard for county statutes, there's no reason to believe they will follow them in the future. This situation is the reason we have zoning laws. The second letter is from Matt Bowers, at 4020 Chase Lane also. This letter is in opposition to the rezoning request by Mr. Munoz, with the anticipation of filing a special exception to do the rodeo concerts and to serve and sell liquor. I understand that this is not the special exception hearing. I do know that the end game is for them to go from A to special exception, which is why the zoning should not be approved to facilitate the special exception. Below are several reasons why the zoning petition should not be approved and pave a way for the special exception. Current disregard for following the law. Concerts have already been going on this summer and fall, and with very loud music that can be heard inside homes with doors and windows shut within a mile. The sheriff's department should have records of several complaints. Liquor has been served without license. Liquor has been served to minors, racing at excessive speeds on 400 East. Following the concerts, guns fired late at night with no knowledge and safe visual of down-range concerns beyond the targets that they cannot be seen at night. Excessive litter along 400 East to State Road 28 of beer bottles, beer cans, and in empty cases following the concerts. Concerts are also on Sunday nights, loud and late on children's school nights. Allowing the zone to A with the intention of Mr. Munoz to then file a special exception is not in the best interest of Tippecanoe County, the surrounding community, and neighbors in regards to public safety, morals, and general welfare. All those issues are questioned on the petition the petitioner completed. The final comments: I wish Mr. Munoz success with the operation of the horse farm. We love horses and being out in the peaceful, quiet country. In the past, we would work in the yard on a weekend, and every once in a while we would hear a rider's name and time announced after competing a barrel race. That was it, and it was in the middle of the afternoon. What is going on is far beyond a simple and harmless barrel race. The next letter is from John Kroll at 4010 Chase Lane. I built my home at this location in 1996 as a retirement home in the country where I could live a quiet rural life. Last summer, activities at the above location were loud and disturbing well into the night. Outdoor conversation was all but impossible, and TV listening was interrupted by loud bursts booming over the speaker system. Traffic speed and erratic driving created safety concerns for other drivers. Rezoning would likely result bringing alcohol and possibility of drugs into the neighborhood, along with an increase in roadside litter that was already a problem last summer. For these reasons, I'm opposed to rezoning of this property. The next letter is from Ricky Fiddler at 12351 South 400 East. I do not want the zoning changed on the property that used to be Foxton Farms. I understand the new owners want to change the zoning so that they can get a license to sell liquor and have music at all hours and have unruly people and cause possible damage to the surrounding properties. This would bring crime to our quiet rural neighborhood. Also, there are young children who live around the property on 400 East. I've already had a sample last year of the awful music they've been playing in the evening during the warm weather. I live within a mile of this property. I have lived out here since I was a child back in the late 60s, so I've lived here 53 years and have seen only a few crimes, maybe close to 10 during all those years. So again, please don't change the current zoning. And then the last letter is from Cynthia Orr and Robert Cohn. We have owned the 185 acres for 48 years, which supports 16 family members over 4 generations. Our farm sits next to the proposed site for the change to the land that could have a high impact on our other farms and many family homes in the area. As a farm real estate agent, Alan Orr had owned and sold many farms in the Lafayette area over his last 50 years before passing 3 years ago. Alan never sold the Romney farm because he felt it had the best soil and overall land value to support our family for generations. So much so that in 2015 he invested an additional $240 for drainage tile to improve crop yield and value to the farm. We are against the proposal for consideration of any reduced access seen to our tenants' farm equipment would have a large impact on our profitability, the long-term impact on the value of our land, the increased noise and lighting from practices and events. And then they have a few questions which are not addressed in the zoning request. Oh, sorry, one. Oh, no, that's the same one. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Would the petitioner like to make any further comments, rebut?
Mr. Munoz wanted to convey that he's just trying to start up a new business and not knowing beforehand, what's gone on last year from what the letters have said and everything, that to have better control over what's happening as a business and following the laws and the rules that go with it. I don't know that he knew what was going on, nobody had come to him and told him of what they were feeling before all of this started. So that's basically what he wanted to convey.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
May I make a comment to what she said?
No, ma'am.
It just seems like Foxton Farms operated out there for several years with no objections to the neighbors. Is horse boarding still allowed under the AA, or was that a non-conforming and?
It was more the shows and the riding aspect of it that would require more intense zoning and probably a special exception.
Got it. So boarding would be allowed, just not shows and the other things, concerts obviously, but just horse part with shows would not be allowed. Rodeo and so forth. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
Curious, you said legitimizing the overall business that is not, that's not conforming right now. But this sounds an awful lot like what we just finished dealing with on State Road 25 North with the Big Red Party Barn. With the Big Red Party Barn, which was basically an event venue. I don't believe it was an event venue necessarily for profit, but it clearly didn't fit in the neighborhood because of the noise. And it's my understanding that the activities are all, I haven't been to Foxton Farms in years, and I'm aware of some of the complaints, and I've talked to the neighbors. Are all of the activities, or a majority of the activities, going on outside? Because there's some large buildings there as well.
Yeah, we did it a couple times. I'm sorry, my name is Benito Munoz. I'm the owner of the farm. And our permits that we get, it was till 10 o'clock at night. We never passed that time. And I understand the way they think, and I'm not here to make anybody feel bad or against me or anything. And that's why I'm here for, because I don't want to do nothing bad that it's not going to make you feel good, you know. So, yes, we did it. We did it inside a couple times. Once it was raining so bad, and the second time it was so cold. So that's why we did it. And I feel sorry about that. Like I said, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It just seems like the original use was acceptable, which is horse boarding, and can continue under the existing zoning, and to change it would allow a more intense use that doesn't seem to fit the neighborhood. Thank you.
But even if we change it to A, they still won't be able to do the rodeos and the concerts, right? That's not going to be allowed until BZA approves those. So, is that correct?
Special exceptions required to do
To do anything more intense than just having a horse show, basically?
Right.
Okay.
So this, the rezone to A then would allow the use permitted by special exception. So then the next step would be to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals for the actual rodeo concert use. It falls under a generalized category that operations like the corn maze use. It's like an outdoor agricultural agribusiness type thing. So yeah, BZA would be the next step.
If the zoning is changed to A, then does that make the stable/riding non-conforming?
No.
If we don't, I mean, this is to clarify, if we don't recommend the change and the zoning change, does the special exception then become moot?
A special exception for the use they're looking for is not permitted in the AA zone. So if the county commissioners do not rezone the property, then they are prohibited from filing that special exception.
Right, that was my clarification, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Everyone clear? Okay. You have a yellow ballot.
We have 7 votes recommending denial of the petition and 3 votes recommending approval. I believe that's a conclusive vote from this body.
That is, and so we will hear that again next month, right?
No, I believe that's a conclusive vote, right? Do we have enough? We
No.
do not. Okay.
No.
So we
No,
have an
you have to
inconclusive
have
vote.
9. You're not paying attention, Ryan. You have to have 9.
So you just came back from on vacation.
I know.
I'm about ready to go on vacation,
I
so my
get it.
brain is already
I
there.
get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, so the
You
case must
need
be continued.
9 in favor or opposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you understand the way our organization works, that there must be at least 9 votes in favor or against for it to leave this body? So you have to come back next month, the 3rd Wednesday of next month, same time, same place. Okay?
Okay.
You're not required to. The case will essentially be reheard. So,
And
but you're welcome to present other information if you want. So, thank you.
Yeah, you want to, if you have questions,
Yeah,
please talk
after the
to,
hearing, we'd be happy to help you.
the staff afterwards, yes. Okay? Thank you.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2050 Purdue Research Foundation, CBW to R4W.
I second.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we are on the west side of the west side. This is west side of Purdue's campus, McCormick 3rd and McCutcheon. Go ahead and zoom in on the site. As you can see, not much going on the site presently. Purdue Research Foundation is interested in constructing a multifamily apartment building, 5-story structure, roughly 400 units on this location. The current zone is Central Business West Lafayette, which is primarily a commercial, non-residential zone. It does allow multifamily above the ground floor, and this proposal that they are bringing is a purely residential project, so the current zoning just cannot contain it. The site was rezoned to CBW in fall of 2020 as part of a neighborhood-wide rezone connected with the Discovery Park District form-based overlay zoning. The goal at that time, rezoning the entire area to CBW, was to try to give PRF kind of the maximum flexibility for what they wanted to do in Discovery Park, and it included a host of non-residential uses. And so we felt that, well, CBW is a mixed-use district, it would allow residential above, so that gives them some flexibility. But there was sort of an understanding at the time in our discussions, which we reminded PRF of, which prompted this petition, that it's possible that if there was anything that couldn't fit in the CBW for some reason, we could do these spot rezones to try to achieve the overall objective. And to that end, the US 231 corridor plan has most of this site within its studied area, and it fell into a land use category called innovation mixed use. And I have a quote there from it that, the classification allows for just a wide variety of, university-centric uses that could contain residential, commercial, office, light industrial, you name it. Discovery Park was meant to be this very multi-use mixed district. And so, so the proposed use of a multifamily apartment building fits in with that. That's one of the puzzle pieces that was originally contemplated. It's just at the time of the CBW rezone, I don't think PRF had any thought that, well, there might be apartments here, or might be they weren't quite ready to pull the trigger on a project at that time, and so here we are to do this. So this would actually be our first form-based overlay project, and that is a administrative approval. Nothing comes to the City Council or to the Plan Commission with respect to that approval. It's essentially a variation of a by right development. And as long as the project meets the code requirements, which are heavily architecturally based type of zoning, then and the underlying use supports the use inside the building, then you can essentially get permits and go. And so it skips PD negotiations, appearances before the APC and City Council. It sort of expedites projects. So in this instance, though, the underlying zoning is not in place. The underlying zoning controls uses only in form-based overlays. So by rezoning from CBW to R4W, which has no density limitations on it, the use of a apartment building of the magnitude they're proposing would be allowed from a use perspective. And then the overlay, once we get if the zoning is approved by City Council, then it's essentially a discussion between the administrative officer, APC, and PRF to sort of check off all the boxes that the form-based code elements are satisfied. And if they are, then that zoning compliance check is done, and then they're essentially at permitting. So staff recommends approval. This is in line with the recommendations and the policies of the 231 plan, and we're excited to see the form-based overlay zoning concept be utilized for the first time. So this would be step one.
Thank you, Ryan. Petitioner.
Well, good evening. My name is Marianne Owen. I'm from the law firm of Stewart and Brannigan. It's my pleasure to be with you this evening. I have just gone through an experience many land use and zoning lawyers wish to have, and that is to have the staff actually make my presentation for me. I am here to properly request your recommendation of approval of this rezoning. And I'm joined here tonight with Jeremy Slater of the Purdue Research Foundation, Mike Riley and Mark Hennessy of Schneider, and we're here to answer any questions you might have about this project. But as I say, the staff has given you the story and done so eloquently. So I'm here really to answer your questions. Thank you.
Anyone in the audience here to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone speaking, would like to speak against this petition? Any questions from the commission? You have a yellow ballot.
Sorry.
We have 10 votes recommending approval of this petition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There are none.
Thank you. Approval of the April Executive Committee agenda. And there are no subdivisions on there.
Okay.
Is there anything? I don't think.
Yeah, I got a couple of things I need to read here. So, I move that the following requests for variance from unified zoning ordinance are not requests for use variance prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statute. And that's BZA 2072, Tim Valiant, and BZA 2073, John Scheidler, Landworks Engineering.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Director's report.
Thank you. The director's report was sent out yesterday. I'll answer any questions you might have. I'll call your attention to just one item. That is, we are beginning next month, along with reps from Lafayette and West Lafayette and Purdue, to work on an amendment to our zoning ordinance that would overhaul our parking regulations, which I think are onerous in their current form in that they require, in some cases, way too much parking. and result in a lot more pavement than is necessary and a lot of wasted space. So that's going to be going on. We anticipate it'll take 5 or 6 months. We'll bring it back here, obviously, into the ordinance committee for review before we're done with anything.
Thank you. Any citizens' comments and/or grievances? Grievances? Hearing none,
I move to adjourn.
we're adjourned.